we're now getting her version of this phone call. Can it be trusted?
Yes, it can. She was distraught because of the situation that happened with Trayvon, and the fact that she was on the phone with him when the incident occurred, right before the incident occurred. So she was very distraught. She had to go to the hospital. She was hospitalized. She also mentioned to us that she had feelings for Trayvon, so it hurt her dearly to know that he had passed away.
Mr. Crump, though, as an attorney, does it worry you that really what this is hearsay evidence?
It really doesn't, because she is a 16-year-old teenager who just lost a person very special to her. Her parents are very concerned. They did not want her to get involved, and it wasn't until Mr. Martin found the phone records and saw that she called him at 7:12. The police got on the scene 7:17. He was shot and dead on the ground.
So just before this happened.
To him. Right.
Briefly, I want to ask you about this other controversy now with this 911 call. Some people who have heard the entire tape believe that Mr. Zimmerman, the man who shot your son, uttered a racial slur. Some people think he said blanking punks. Other people think he said blanking and then a racial slur. Have you heard the entire tape? And do you think you've heard the original tape? What's your opinion?
I haven't heard the entire tape, but the parts that I did hear, Zimmerman did go on saying, I think he said words that were not comforting to my ear.
Like these people,
And who are these people?
He was suspicious because he was young, with black, with a hoodie.
Let me read you something that lawyers for the Department of Justice have said on the condition of anonymity, that while the investigation of the shooting of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin will go forward, it would be difficult to prosecute the case under federal law. Civil rights law protects against hate crimes or actions by police officers, but Martin's shooting may not have either of those elements.
Matt, it's real simple to us. He needs to be arrested, prosecuted, and convicted. Now, the state needs to do it. It's crazy that this family has to wait for grand juries and stuff, when if it was the other way around, they would have arrested their son on the spot.
Mr. Fulton, if we put the picture of Trayvon up on the screen, it is very easy to look at this young man and want to support you and to comfort you and offer our condolences. But do we also have to remember that with all the public outcry here, that there is a perhaps potential for a rush to judgment against Mr. Zimmerman, who has not been charged with a crime, and even if he had been charged with a crime, would have to be viewed as innocent in the eyes of the law. Are you worried about that? Would you urge people to be patient?
I would urge people to be patient, let the courts decide, but I strongly feel that he needs to be arrested because the crime was committed. My son is murdered. My son is not with us no more. Nothing can bring him back.
Only two people know what happened that night, and your son unfortunately cannot tell his side of the story, Ms. Fulton. Are you worried that in a court of law it will be tough to convince a jury of the guilt of Mr. Zimmerman beyond a reasonable doubt?
Well, there are some witnesses, and I just want them to take a look at the evidence that they have. I just hurt, and my heart hurts because this guy has not been arrested. And I just feel like the Sanford Police Department decided to decide if they decided on the scene to be the judge and jury. And I just want this guy arrested, and so he can be brought to justice.
Mr. and Mrs. Fulton, thank you for your time this morning. I truly appreciate it. Mr. Crump, thank you very much as well. It's now 15 minutes after the hour. Here's Ann.
Oh my goodness. If we don't do something about this, brothers and sisters, my gosh. As it was said, if it was turned the other way around, Trayvon Martin would have been arrested on the spot. The bungling of this case by the Sanford Police Department was a slap in the face, not only to us as people of color, but to everyone. Our children are not safe. The police chief needs to step down and move aside, and probably so does several of his officers. Because if this is the way that they are governing the streets of Sanford, they no longer need to be in office. And a great look needs to be taken through the whole law enforcement department in that area, and probably, I'm sure, through a lot of areas, the way they govern this whole state of Florida and other states as well, the way they do people of color. And that's for real. This is a great alarm, the way they are doing, taking the matters in their own hands, the disparity. We could look at the court system, we could look at the judicial system, we could look at the prison systems and see the disparity. You can go and see how judgment is meted out. You could put a black and a white against each other with the same crimes, whether it be drug crimes. One will go straight to prison, one will go to drug treatment or a halfway house immediately. And or one will get a lesser sentence. And we know who that is because of that disparity. And you can act like, and I understand that there are some whites, because this thing cannot be done alone. And the sad part is that this family has lost a precious son, and it has taken over 500,000 signatures to get notice that there is corruption in the Sanford Police Department, to say that this man sat there probably either half out of his freaking mind or on drugs or drunk himself, and was not tested, by the way, and decided that, oh, there's a suspicious guy because he's walking with a hoodie on. So walking while black, not even driving while black, walking while black, going to his parents' home in a gated community. I live in a gated community. Should I be concerned now? Should I be scared? You know, it's bad enough that we are in an oppressed society, you know, and have come up just a little bit being able to work in a oppressed society, and we have to watch out. And I still have to teach my kids. My kids are grown now. My baby is 21 years old, and I still tell her to watch out. And she'll tell me, oh, Mom, this and that and the other. But she's learning now herself. She's like, oh, man. She tells me the experiences that she goes through. And she'll say the things that I used to tell her about watching out for various other nations. And now she understands all the stuff that I used to warn her about. She's experiencing some of the biases and the prejudices, the racial biases, I'm saying. She used to say, oh, Mom, you're just crazy. She doesn't say those things anymore because it's starting to affect her, because she's not under my covering anymore, under my protection anymore. I was scared for my children, you know, just like my people were afraid for me. So I understand, and I cannot feel the loss that this mother felt, but my heart hurt, you know, and I'm up in arms, and I will be at the rally Thursday, because I don't want this to happen again. I don't want this to continue to happen, and this definitely needs the attention that is getting. This young man does not need to die in vain. Our children do not need to be prey for these vigilante predators to think that they could just lord over our kids, terrorize them, you know, and be masters over them. This is 2012, not 1812, 1712, or 1612. Those days are over, and you can't do that crap anymore. And if they are bold enough to do it, we need to be bold enough to say it, and we have to put a stop to that. And those of our people who are doing the wrong things, we have to be bold enough to put a stop to that as well. You cannot let those who are committing crimes in your neighborhoods to hide. If they're in your families, they got to stop it. You got to stop that too, because they are perpetuating these stereotypes, you know. And to put that blight, there used to be a time when a young man was had that stereotype of being the pro athlete, the lawyer, the doctor, you know, the businessman. And that's what we need to get back again. And this young man had that light in his eyes of promise. That's what kills me. That's what's tearing me apart. His eyes, so beautiful. He had promise, light in his eyes. And this monster Zimmerman took that light, because look at his eyes. You know, he has no light in his eyes. And he took that from Trayvon Martin, you know. So let's get together with calm and go through this procedure and make sure that this never happens again, and that we support this mom and this dad and this family and get this word out and do this thing. Let's do this thing. Shalom.